Hey, this is Sam.
This is Garrett.
And we're Future Islands. And these are
Records in My Life.
ever played and getting to play all around the world, just that everything grew at a really rapid rate, and it took us years to adapt to that. And I think when we went getting off the road for that record after 22 months of touring, we took 1 month off, and then we began writing The Far Field, our second album with 4AD, which came out in 2017. And we pushed it very quickly. It was a really rapid process. So the big thing was, it wasn't until we were on the road for The Far Field that we kind of talked about how we hadn't been talking. Like we were so close all the time on the road and going through this thing and everything going around us that we kind of weren't being friends anymore. When we set out on the road in 2008, me, William, and Garrett had the conversation, and we all said, this is what I want. I want to be a musician. And with that common goal, it helped push us forward and to this current moment. But really in 2017, we had to have that conversation again. Is this still what you want? Is this still what I want? And starting to be open again. So making this record was really, this record is really about trust. It's about trust and relationships, trusting oneself. It's about loving someone, being loved, and loving oneself. So that's also been a part of the process just in this last 2 months prior to the release, and since the release, doing press and realizing how we're in such a better place than we were 3 years ago, and how we worked really hard with a common vision, and we took more responsibility than we have in many years in creating a record, and really made a record that we're all really proud of. And I think that all that extra work is in there. I don't know. I feel so prideful for this record that I haven't really felt that way probably since our second album that we put out in 2010. And I feel like we've gotten back to that space again where we're more open to talking about creation because we're friends again. That's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah. So Garrett, give us some of the early records when you guys met. Which albums were you bonding on? Because this show is about you, the artists, and the albums that have rounded you out, and inspired you. I mean, you could go back to I don't want to, the Ghetto Boys or, whatever, Butthole Surfers, whatever bands you were into. Yeah. Or Suicidal Tendencies, since you were a skater. So I don't know. So you get.
Yeah. Well, I guess, say when I grew up in, small towns, we didn't have access to like record stores or whatever. So my early access to music was through skate videos, pretty much, primarily just skate videos and skate magazines reviewing records. So I think one record I thought of discussing was Kool Keith and Dan the Automator made this record, Dr. Octagon, Octagonecologyst, which was definitely featured on quite a few skate videos back in the day. And but yeah, it definitely came from more of a, I listened to a lot of punk music, and Sam was listening to a lot of hip hop, and I was like, well, here's this, I listened to this one thing that's Dr. Octagon. I heard it on the skate video. I got into that. I forget even how I got the CD. We used to go to the town. There was a record store in Havelock.
Yeah.
And that's where we would get some stuff. So I'm pretty sure that's where I got it.
I bought some records. I bought some really good CDs there. That was the first time I ever went to like a CD release, like the day of release. I went and bought Blackstar, Most Def and Talib Kweli Blackstar at that record store in Havelock. I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah, I think it was called like Music Store or something like. It was either like. But
yeah, I mean, that was really me and Garrett's friendship kind of came out of when we first started talking about music at like 14 years old. With Dr. Octagon, because I was like, Dr. Octagon, like, we're the 14-year-old kids, like, that's crazy. but also like Danzig. You know, I was a big Danzig fan, and because of my older brother had showed me Danzig. Also showed my older brother was a skater, so I was also like watching, you know, his skate videos and picking up things here and there. But a lot of the music I was getting into was from him. But yeah, Dr. Octagon, and then I gave Garrett some Danzig, and then he gave me Misfits. So we kind of bonded over Glenn Danzig, but on the different sides. We were listening to like the different sides of that.
I guess some of the vocal influences are from some of those metal years, right? Of listening to metal and where beautiful songs.
Danzig was a huge influence. I mean, I often joked early on, but I mean, that's the truth in it, which is that my biggest influence as a singer are Danzig and Elton John, which is like what I was listening to when I was 12 years old. You know, it's like my brother's Danzig CDs and my mom's Elton John records, and they both gave me something different. You know, it was like I loved Elton John, but I also like the Danzig made me feel like tough guy, like wearing the
because it shows in the music. Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, it goes and then it goes like the music picks up a bit, and then these throaty vocals come on, and it's really kind of cool. It's like, you know, I know a million people have talked to you guys about the Letterman performance, but it's like unsuspecting viewers, like it turned in and watched it, they were like, yeah, that's pretty spectacular. Like the vocals just come and like everything gets thrown into it. And so where do these throaty vocals come from?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's always been one of our secret weapons, I think, for Future Islands, is just that element of surprise. Which if that's like maybe the one thing that Letterman took away from us was that element of surprise. Although it shared what we do, I think, and connected our music to a lot of people, because, you know, I think, you know, it's hard being a band and coming up through the underground. You know, you're constantly fighting to just get your name out there. And, you know, in the old days, we would have to play a town every 3 or 4 months, because, you know, when you play a town, your poster goes up, you know, a month before the show, and then it's there a month after the show, but then hopefully you're there back, and then there's another poster. So your name just kind of is pasted around college towns across the United States and across like Europe, Central Europe. So you're constantly just like trying to keep those posters up and keep in people's minds. But I think that performance really, it connected people who were kind of like passively had heard of us, or maybe they heard our music, but then they saw like, oh, that's what that is. Okay. And it's even at the same time, it's even it's a different it sparks a different part of your brain. It sparks something different. So
no, it was a terrifically cool moment. But anyway, when you guys can answer this next one, it's kind of a fun question we ask once in a while. If you could be a fly on the wall for a recording session of any record, going back to you know, Miles Davis or Beethoven, right to today, just an example. So like Miley Cyrus, for example, who just, I think, released an album.
I'm actually curious what Garrett would say.
Well, I would love to be a fly on the wall of any of Aphex Twin's records, because it's just a mystery. It's all just a mystery. So I would just, you know, love to get in there and buzz around a little bit.
He probably has the technology to turn you into a fly, Garrett, and make your dream.
That's true. Yeah, so that would be an interesting, just sort of a peek into that world for a second.
I think I'd have to go with De La Soul's first record, 3 Feet High and Rising, just to like see where all of these sparks came from. You know, where this kind of strange, and just like fun. It just sounds like people having fun and exploring music.
Let's go back against your youth. What record was the one that kind of struck a chord in you and said, you know what, I really, really want to start singing or rapping, or I really want to start playing drums or synth or guitar or experimenting with sounds? What's the record that, you know, you had that moment?
I mean, I'm making a list for this. I mean, I hate to give the same answer in different interviews, but it is the record and also a point where me and Garrett connected as friends early on was Gravediggaz 6 Feet Deep, which is also a Prince Paul connection. No, it's Prince Paul, RZA, Too Poetic, and Frusciante from Stetsasonic, who's an early hip hop supergroup. But that record, my brother brought home, I think when he was a senior in high school. So I was in the 8th grade, so like 13 years old. And it was one of those where I just like, this looks cool. Can I listen to this in my room? And my brother at the same time was really obsessed with this record. And he had gone to my parents' office and printed up the lyrics to this album. And I was just studying. I just like studied these lyrics. And to this day, it's probably the only, like I memorized the whole record. Like I almost learned to begin writing by memorizing, a full album, a full rap album, and took it to school. And I'm like, isn't this funny? This guy just said like, I swear there's a fire, so I pissed on the floor. And I'm like, rapping to my friends at school. And they were like, oh, that is cool. Like, oh, you can rap. And it wasn't, it was just kind of, it was kind of falling in love with words, but also there was a humor to it. I think what struck me at that age, I was open to it because it had a humor to it, but there was also a great amount of darkness, and there's also a lot of fun and experimentation with these things. So I think it spoke to me on different levels, and that was the record that started my obsession and like research and study of hip hop music. When I heard Gravediggaz 6 Feet Deep, that was like, what is this? Like, this hits me on some whole other level. And it kind of became a thing because we grew up in such a small place that not really there weren't many of our friends that really were into rap music. So it kind of felt like something that I could like learn about and study, and it felt like it was kind of my own in a way.
Getting back, like you were talking about, like discovering, this kind of ties into the next question. And you have to look, like you said, like you have to look when you're young, right? You have to look for music. So what have you found today?
I always kind of fall back on this band Beak lately.
Sure.
I think that whatever Jeff Bear does is generally pretty incredible.
This is true. I mean, that's actually been the thing that I like most about Spotify is that, it gives you that release radar or discover weekly, and then you find, some things just pop up. There's a song that I, was obsessed with for 2 years called Khala, My Friend, by this African rock group called Amanaz, which was something that I really loved. It's just a beautiful song. I recently had this other track, Gary Bartz and the Nude Troop. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Celestial Blues. That's so cool.
That's fantastic. And thank you again. 2 quick questions to close it out. And we ask everybody this. Weed, water, or wine to listen to your favorite record or to write? So each, for both of them, what do you use to listen to your favorite music or to get inspired to write?
I'm getting old now. I'm going with water for both.
Yeah, I think I have to choose water for both as well.
I actually don't write intoxicated anymore. I used to be a big stoner back in the day. So that was always with a blunt back in the old, especially listening to Gravediggaz, like sneak out my window of my bedroom, after my parents go to sleep, put the tape in the Walkman and go to the shore with a blunt. But yeah, it's all, I'm a water man these days.
What do you got? What would each of you, what's the record of your high school generation? The first record you think of when you think back to your high school days?
Probably think of like John Frusciante's usually just a t-shirt and Niandra and usually just a t-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Well, I know they're canceled, but I'm gonna steal one of Garrett's too, because we blasted this like almost every day on the way to school in Garrett's truck with his Slayer Rain in Blood live. It was live, right, Garrett?
Yeah, it's called Decade of Aggression.
Decade of Aggression. That's what it is. Decade of Aggression. That record gets you really pumped on the way to school.
Excited to go to school. And we like to ask for your fans and our audience some words of wisdom.
Wisdom is that life takes time and to hold on. Advice is to hold on, and also trust people before trust people until they give you a reason not to. Try to be understanding of people, beyond how they look or how they seem. Give people a chance, because it's what you would want. Compassion and empathy are what I think is the most important thing we're missing in the world today.
I'm trying to laugh myself, just trying to, I think it's find something that you think is funny, or, maybe that's like terrible advice.
It's fantastic advice.
Yeah,
it's fantastic advice.
Try to find some joy, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys, and best of luck to everything.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Back in Vancouver.
Yeah, I hope so soon. Yeah,
Take care.
A good one.
Hi, I'm Mark Henning, the other half of Records in My Life. Love it that you made it to the end of the video. Please leave us a comment, leave us a thumbs up, and subscribe. If you really dug the show, we'd love it if you'd consider supporting us over at patreon.com/RIMLTV. Cheers and see you next week.